I'm Eduardo and this is the JavaScript Haunted House. You're doing better than expected, I'm impressed. But to truly master JavaScript, you need to know some basic programming concepts, and we'll see a very important one in this chapter: conditional statements. Conditional statements are used in all programming languages to perform simple logical questions to the system and take actions based on answers. For example, if a condition is true, do something. If it is false, do something else. Sounds simple, right? And it is. To declare the conditionals, we use three words: if, else if, and else. The if is always the starting point. For example, if the condition is true, execute the code. This is the syntax used to create a conditional statement. The word if, a condition inside the parentheses, and the code to be executed if the condition is true inside curly brackets. We can say that if 3 is greater than 2, show an alert with a message: it is true. Obviously, in this case, the alert will show up because the condition is true. If we try the contrary, the alert will not show up since the condition is false. So, if it's true, run the code. If it's not, doesn't. But what if we wanted to do something when the condition is false? We need to create multiple ifs? Not at all. In this case, we use the word else. The else should be placed right after the closing curly brackets of the if statement, indicating that if the condition is false, the code inside else should run. In this case, an alert with a message "it is false" should show up, indicating that 5 is not greater than 10. Now, imagine that you have several possibilities for a comparison, and for each case you had to take a different action. How could we do that? In this case, we should use else if to handle the situation. Let's define a variable called number and assign a value to it. If the number is less than 10, you should see the message less than 10. If the number is equal to 10, you should see the message equal to 10. If these two conditions are false, it can only be greater than 10, and it should show an alert with a message greater than 10. Let's code. Let's type if with the first condition, checking if the value is less than 10. Our number variable has a value of 18, then this condition is false. And else if should be our next step, with the second condition. Now we're basically saying that if the first condition is false, try this. Remember that if the first condition is true, JavaScript will not run the else if and it will get out of the statement automatically. The new condition should be put inside parentheses and compare if the number equals 10. Again, false. If none of the condition is true, the code in the else should be executed, showing that the variable number is greater than 10. An important detail is that one equal sign is different from two equal signs. In JavaScript, one equal sign indicates that you are assigning a value to some variable. For example, here we are assigning 23 to the number variable. Two signs, however, indicates comparison, as in this case. Here we are comparing the variable number to 22 inside an if. There are several types of comparative signs, but the most used are greater than, less than, equal, not equal, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. To make comparisons, we can use not only numbers, but any kind of variable. For example, we can create a string and use it inside a condition. We can also create a boolean for the same task. We can use conditional statements to solve a major problem in our inventory that you still don't know yet. it only has room for 5 slots, and it can have more than that. So how do we know it's already full? Asking a question to JavaScript, of course. Here's the code of our inventory. Within our inventory object, we will create a property called limit and assign 5 to it. The first step is to find out if the inventory is full before you add a new item. So we're going to make this test as soon as the function addItem is called. The first step is to find out how many slots already exist. And for this we will create another variable called total items. We'll select the inventory element by its ID and pick up all its children using the children property. After this, we use another property named length to discover the number of child elements. This will be done in every function call. This way, the value will always be updated after new additions. We already have the variable with the limit, so all we need to do is compare them. With an if, let's compare the number of slots with the inventory limit, which is 5. If the number is equal, it means that the inventory has reached its maximum capacity and cannot receive more slots. To inform this situation, we'll create an alert with the message inventory is full. If the number is not equal, which means that the number of slots is less than 5, the inventory can still receive a new slot, and so the code remains the same. We will create 3 new variables and try to include them. The first try is successful, since there were only 3 slots. The second one too, because the number of slots was 4. When trying to include the 6th item, we received the inventory's full message because our if became true. It's getting interesting, right? We can also create multiple conditions in a single line. For example, let's declare a variable and set any number to it. Let's go ahead and create the if statement. And inside the parentheses, we put not 1, but 2 conditions. The first is that the number is greater than 10. And the second is that it is less than 20. To tell JavaScript we want both conditions to be tested, let's put 2 ampersand symbols. So, the code will run if the number is between 10 and 20. The double ampersand can be considered the logical operator for AND, meaning that the first and second condition must be true. Another possibility is to create 2 conditions and say that if any of them is true, the code can be executed. We should then use 2 vertical lines or pipes, whatever you want to call it, which are the logical operator for OR. This way, whether the number is less than 10 or greater than 20, the code will run. In other words, if either of these conditions is true, execute the code. Another way to make comparisons is the ternary operator. A condition is given, and on the same line, 2 options are set. And they will be executed if the condition is true or false, correspondingly. If we have a variable number of ghosts with the number 12, we can make the following test. If the number of ghosts is less than 10, the status of the room is safe. If greater, the variable room status receives dangerous. There is one last kind of comparison used in JavaScript, called switch. Using the switch, you can provide a value and let the JavaScript take care of different possibilities for you, like this. In this case, the alert would say, there are 2 ghosts. If the value passed as an argument does not match any case, a default option can be provided. I think we're done here. Knowing how to use conditional statements can save you from a lot of different situations. Now make me proud and I'll see you in the next bro.